I'd like this afternoon to be a question and answer period and general open discussion. However, to give us something to talk about in addition to what you might want to, I want to go into something quite important, quite solid, quite basic. When a person has a problem, a difficulty, a crisis, the first question that comes to their mind is, how do I get out of it? If we didn't get ourselves into it in the first place, there would be no need for the how. Because the how arises on the trouble, on the level of self-trouble, of self-involvement. So we're going to talk a little bit about the word how and the process of how. We can see where it's legitimate and where it has no meaning at all. So now you're going to have to pay very close attention. If you ask me how to get across a river, how can I get across the river? I might say to you, well, you have to build a bridge. You've asked me how to get across the bridge, across the river. I say you have to build a bridge. Now, you say, how do I build a bridge? I tell you, well, you need a hammer, nails, lumber, and you have to proceed in a certain logical, normal, intelligent manner. You have to put posts out every 5 feet out into the river and get those good and solid. Then you put more boards on top of it, however you build a bridge. I'm telling you how to build a bridge. If you do this, if you take lumber, nails, hammer, saws, follow the instructions that you were given, you will build a bridge and you will be across the river. Now when you get over there, you yell back at me and ask, how do I get across the river? You don't ask how anymore because you're over there. You have used how legitimately, and now there is no longer any how. You're over there. You don't look back and ask how. It's done. All right. How do I get over being my own worst enemy? How do I get over fighting with everybody I meet sooner or later? Not the first few times because we smile. End up fighting with everybody. How do I do it? All right. On the level of asking how here, this is the level of thinking, of logic, of reason, of ideas. There is a how. Just as there's a how, you must build a bridge to get over the river. How do I stop being ashamed of myself and being so angry when you cross me? How do I get over it? Very simple. Very simple. I will tell you how. I'm telling you how to get across the river. You write books. You come to meetings like this. You do what you're told to do in these meetings and what you read in the books. You observe yourself. You don't identify with what you see. You cease to think that you are a separate entity apart from the all, which is not religious talk at all. It's a fact. You do all these things in order to not be your own enemy. And this is the only enemy I have right here. The only one Juan has is right there. All right, now let's slow down a little bit. You've been told how to do it. Why haven't you done it? You've been told how. Read the right books. Come here, work. Be sincere. Be earnest. Stop lying. If you're not across the river, it's because you haven't been done what you've been told to do. But we have to start, don't we? We have to start seeing what it means even to listen correctly, which means with me out of the way, with my conditioning out of the way. Okay. I read the right books. I come to meetings. I work on myself out there. I stop loving my anger. I stop loving my shame, my guilt. I stop loving it because loving it keeps it in place. I get across the river. That is, I cease to be Tom Smith or Mary Jones, the labeled self. I've made it. I'm out. I'm on the other side. At this point, is there a how? Does God have to ask how to get rid of hostility? How to get rid of anxiety? No how there, is there? Because this one thing, this one allness, has no negativities, has no problems. If you don't have a problem, you don't have to ask how to get out of it. So on the level of thought, it is legitimate to ask how. Fine, go ahead. But at the same time, now you're going to have to add something. At the same time you see that it's okay to ask how on that level, you have to see that the how must eventually dissolve, end. And the sooner, if you can do it, the sooner you can stop asking how, the sooner you will be over there where no how is necessary. And incidentally, then you won't get misled. You ask people how to do it, you're asking on the level of their answer. And they will give you an answer every time you ask anybody for advice. And they've just got barrels of it for you at a price. And we deserve just what we get when we ask on the level of how. However, fortunately for us, there is a legitimate how, which we're doing right here. Do you see that when you have ended the whole thing, there are no questions anymore? No problems with myself anymore because I'm no longer there? Try to understand then, very simply, because I won't go much longer in this, that the how must eventually come to an end so that you don't ask. You understand? We ask how out of desperation because before asking it, our mind has already conceived the type of answer we would like to hear. If you were brought up in an Orthodox religion and you ask someone, how do I get over feeling bad over a family crisis, and you're told to pray about it, and you go home and pray, you deserve the answer you got, to go home and pray, which will do nothing, because that's talking to yourself. The how must go. Okay, let's just talk. Maybe some better ideas will come out as we discuss it. It's very complex, very difficult. Very difficult to explain in words, because I'm speaking to you on the level of thought, on the level of ideas. But every once in a while, incidentally, and I know you have noticed this, perhaps in the earlier meeting, there was an understanding which had no idea in it at all, where you and I understood each other perfectly, right now, without thinking about it. And in that there was no how at all. No asking how I do it. It was all very clear. I can always find the answer I want to find. That's easy. But it won't get me out. It won't get me across the river. Remember we said earlier that I have to endure my doubt. I have to endure being without an answer. Boy, what a shock I'm going to give myself. But I'm getting smart. Because I'm very, very tired of playing the game with myself and with society anymore. I'm so weary of it all, I no longer mind the shop. Anything is preferable to the hell I've lived in. Right? You're saying right inwardly. Boy, now you have feeling, right feeling at last as your ally. Intellectually, you'll never make it. Can't be done. Because that's just one force, and you need at least two that will combine and come together so that you, I think this is a phrase we used before, so that you feel what you know. You can know something without feeling it. When feeling comes in, it's a different thing, isn't it? You know. Then, as we work on ourselves, the how on the level of thought becomes very easy. I don't need you to tell me to read that book a little bit every day. I'm going to read 10 times as much as you might suggest I read. I want it. Which is not obsession. Which is not fixation. Which is not mechanically mumbling your prayers. For the first time, you are doing something for yourself. And you know it. Try to keep you back. Huh. Try to keep you back once you get this glimpse of it. Nothing matters anymore. You go out and do your work, that's easy. You spade your garden, nothing to it. That's nothing. All the time, your work. This is what we're after. Then a mistake along the way, an embarrassment, a feeling stupid, is no longer falsely treasured. The next time you make a stupid mistake, don't you dare linger with it. Don't you like it. Don't you go around apologizing to yourself or others. You drop it now. Which puts an end to the level of thought, and therefore an end to the mechanical repetition of the mistake itself. And the sooner you can do it, the more effective it will be, until you get on the other side of it, where you stop it before it happens. Consciousness stops mechanicalness. Write that down. Consciousness stops mechanicalness. And the only thing. Right? How about another illustration? The man goes to the hospital and he asks the doctor, he says, I have a little health problem. How can I cure myself? The doctor says, okay, take this, take that, do this, do that, and you'll be well. The patient takes the medicine, does what the doctor says, and he's well. Does he go back to the hospital and ask, how can I get well? It's over. There's no how.
Could that be somewhat akin to in sales, where sometimes people get so zealous they tend to oversell a product and the recipient is talked into it and then talked out of it again? Maybe we have a tendency to try to oversell ourselves, our eagerness and all. Maybe we try to do too much at the intellectual level instead of getting ourselves out of the way and letting it happen.
Okay. Well, yes, if we identify with our knowledge and become proud of it, maybe, is that what you're saying? Maybe we become very proud of the books we've read, things like that. That obviously is just another fixation on the intellectual level, then we become teachers of other people who have never saved ourselves. The blind leading the blind, I think it's called. Then you are not doing a thing, but there is pure action. You're not divided from yourself anymore. You're not wishing that you were here or there when you were here. You were here 100%, therefore no yearning to be over there where other people are richer or having more fun or having more whatever you want. You're not divided. You're right here, fully. Then anything you do is pure action, because it's not divided between what happens to you and what you demand or wish would happen to you. There's no one there to fight. There's no self there to fight what happens. So you don't ask, how can I change the world? Which is not going to be done anyway. You do understand, do you not, that what we're aiming for, what we're getting at, what we're talking about is sanity itself, authentic sanity? See, truth, with a capital T this time, is sane. Untruth is insane. Which are we living in? See? In sanity, life is completely effortless. That is, I'm not trying to do, because it is all one thing, doing. That I don't get nervous, and I don't get nervous when things don't turn out as I thought they would, as I wanted them to, or you don't behave toward me the way I thought you should, or the way I needed you to. Then I don't see any connection between me and you in the sense of competition that was brought up, or influence. I see without a motive. I see you without a motive. Because I used to think you could give me something. Whatever it was I thought that you had to give me. Now I see that that was simply one of my other illusions that had to go. Boy, then you can walk into the room and out of the room. You know, it's easy to walk into the room. You try to get out once you're in there. We walk into the room because we stand in the doorway and see all the glitter and all the food and the pretty girls and the handsome men and the diplomas and the titles and the honors. And because we're machines, we're magnetized and drawn right into it. We say, this is it. And the minute you're in, you're afraid. When you understand these things, you might walk right in the middle of a room with glitter, but you go right in and you walk right out that way. There's no value to it, to you at all. You might accidentally be drawn into it, just as you are every day. You're drawn into many attractions that might be attractions to you, but they don't have power over you anymore. If you're in it accidentally, you walk in and you walk right out. For example, I'm in a situation where I'm thwarted and frustrated and I become angry. My anger is my treasure. You see? My anger is what I like. Otherwise, I wouldn't take it up. My anger, my hostility is my value. I'm stuck with it. Do you ever think of it that way? That these negative feelings are false treasures to us? Then we ask how to get out of the room now that we've got into the mess. We pray to God to deliver us from our own evil. We can either stay out of the room in the first place or walk in and out of it if we find ourselves in it because of accidental circumstances. For example, you might be with your family or something and they're a bunch of mad people criticizing and hating, and you can see it in their faces. You're in it because you're part of their family. That's the way it happened accidentally. But you don't become part of the madness. You're sitting there eating your Thanksgiving dinner with them all, and you're sitting there being a sane human being in the midst of something that is not sane at all. You used to go there and argue politics and religion and fight in one or another way because that is what we treasured. No more. So we walk into the Thanksgiving Day dinner and have dinner, say goodbye, Tom, Mary, see you next Thanksgiving, and off you go, only this time you are even more sane than before because you have used it wisely. And you don't have any sense of superiority, but you look across the room, that man over there, that man or that woman who has been blabbing ever since he or she sat down, and you say, oh my God, that was me 5 years ago. Now I see it. What would you like to talk about? Yes.
Vernon, this morning's class, you had us write down this following sentence: to have the courage to give up exciting but self-destructive feelings, or words to that effect. Could we go into some examples of what giving up, what exciting and self-destructive feelings
Yes.
are?
Yes. And it's very simple. Anything that feeds my false sense of self is an exciting but destructive thing, idea. But I don't know that is why I'm doing it. See, so we come back to I have to see what I'm doing, don't I? That I'm feeding this. Then I have to give it up, which means I'm going to have to do something terribly wrenching to myself. Instead of swallowing your flattery whole, I have to stand back and see how it was making me feel good, but I can't afford your flattery anymore. Not anymore. Which means I can't hang around those places where artificial people keep each other in place by flattering each other, by pinning on medals or whatever they do, or talking in a certain way to make the other feel secure. We have, maybe one or two of you haven't heard a phrase we use quite frequently called the false feeling of life, which is merely any excitement that makes me feel important like somebody, or that makes me feel depressed. That's a false feeling of life, and I have to give it up. Can you imagine such a thing? I'm telling you to give up the pleasure of your dejection? Isn't that a strange thing? Huh? I'm asking you to give up the pleasure of feeling persecuted, because you get a big kick out of it. Or I do. Can you see excitement in something you encounter? I don't know what it is. You have to find out for yourself. What excites you? If this excites you, great. That's the only legitimate excitement on earth. Right here. Or being with yourself and working. How many of you here have ever, even in a small way, had the right excitement of seeing something for the first time? Seeing some little truth, some little fact, something that straightened you out a little. Isn't that exciting? If you want more of that, that is not mechanical. That is not obsession. That is real. We can tell the difference, can't we? We can sense it. Do you see how we're afraid of being quiet? I'm not talking about here. How we're fearful of running out of things to do. If I don't have something to do with my hands or with my body or with my life, I start to get nervous. See how afraid we are of slowing down? Say nothing of coming to a stop. Slowing down, that frightens me. I've got to keep something going every minute. And I better have a bunch of distractions ready in case one of them fails me, huh? Have a dozen so that if 2 fail, I got 10 left. Which means I never come face to face with the problem itself. Which means I stay afraid. And just as I'm my enemy, I'm your enemy. Even though I say I love you. Asleep when you leave these meetings. Don't you dare. A small part of you has been awakened right now. You keep that alive when you go from here. And even if someone you came to this meeting with says something negative, don't you take it. Don't you let them put you to sleep. It may not, I don't know. You hang on to this for all you're worth. You have nothing else in life, and you know it, don't you? You have nothing. Life without the truth is what's a cliche? Worthless, empty. Worse than that, it's torment. It's torment. It's despair. You don't have to live that way. I don't have to live that way. You don't have to live that way. You're not chained at all once you see. Never mind if you have to go right into the dark tunnel. Look, you're standing there right in front of this big dark tunnel. You don't know how long it is. All you know is that it's different from what you see outside. Out here you see bushes, you see orange trees, you see people over there, you see a building over there, you see an airplane up there. This is familiar. You recognize it. And right in front of you is this terrible tunnel. Not only that, but boy, you start to walk toward that, and all your friends start screaming, "Don't go in there, it's dangerous." Here are these people outside the tunnel living in hell telling you it's dangerous to go in there. Off to your right, they're having a party, and they've got champagne and cake. And over here, they've got a merry-go-round. You turn your back on it and you go right in there. And what will happen is exactly what you're afraid will happen. You will be destroyed. and you'll come out on the other side a new kind of human being. I'm not being religious. This isn't religious talk. You'll come out on the other side a totally new kind of human being than you were before you went into that unknown darkness. Never mind, don't ask me what's in there. You do it, and you stay in there. And then you'll see that much light. After a long time, you'll see that much light. It'll go off, and you stumble, and you bump against that wall. You bump against that wall. You'll want to turn around and go back, but it's too late. You can't go back anymore, can you, Joan? You can't go back. It's too late. You're stuck. It's terrible. It's awful. When you get out on the other side, you will have died, as the New Testament says, to your old nature, to your old self. And you'll be so glad that you didn't listen to these people having the party who told you to come over and join them and play their games. Oh, there's a theater over there too, and an awful lot of people are over there changing costumes and putting on performances, playing roles of great leaders, great religious leaders too. We listened to them long enough, didn't we? We passed on enough nonsense to others ourselves, did we not? Not knowing what we were doing. I'm taking Rudy and trying to get him into the tunnel. Rudy is taking Sal and trying to get him into the tunnel. Juan is taking Larry. We're scared to death. It's incredible. You get in there, and it's awful. I'm telling you that it's awful. But I'm telling you that you will see that the awfulness itself was false if you stay and don't run back out to the party. All our pains, all our sorrows, all our confusions, all our frustrations, hostilities have a false foundation. And you know this finally when you come out on the other side of the tunnel. All this heartache, what am I going to do? It all goes away. I'm stating this, you understand, I'm stating this as a fact. Not as a philosophy or as a part of this talk I'm supposed to give. I'm telling you as a fact. But you have to do it. I have to do it all alone. You have to do it all alone. The time comes in the tunnel. Black all around. No friends. They're gone. Time comes when for the first time you sense that the destruction is the destruction not of you, but of your hell. Now you got it. Now you got it. You wouldn't go back. Oh. You're not going to play with toys anymore. Nobody can ever persuade you to go back. There's a period of time when you're about 10 steps inside the tunnel when you can still hear the merry-go-round with its fun over there and the champagne drinkers over there and someone yelling at you, hey, come back on out. And you're a little bit tempted. We're here to keep each other in that tunnel and not run back. I will say something a little different. Some people do make a step or two into the tunnel and they do go back. If you do that, it's 10 times as hard to do it again. I won't go into, there's many false processes that have then been added to you. It makes it doubly difficult. So once you get in there, stay in there. Don't go back. Don't run away. Or you make it harder on yourself to go in again. Are you following the allegory, if that's what it is? Illustration. Okay.
If I start into that tunnel with the same conditioned ideas I've had before, take 2 steps, and there's no big revelation or awakening as I expect it's going to be,
That's right.
then I dash back to these bright lights and I say, aha, it didn't work. But then if the spark flashes again to go in, I'll have to recross that same 2 steps plus the rest of them.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good. Yeah, you just build another thing to cross through. Yeah. Yeah, see, if you go into the idea that the answers are going to be what you want them to be, why do you go into it at all? You're just deluding yourself. Most people who come for help when they're in a crisis of any kind come insincerely, but they don't know they are. They don't know that their very desperation prevents them from listening to the answers. Remember we said desperation gets in the way? It's an astonishing experience. You're right in the middle of the tunnel, and your misery and your despair, and your wife or husband can't help you. They're just as bad off as you are. There's no way to turn. You stay right in the center of that tunnel with no way to turn, not seeing any light. There's no light anymore from back there in the merry-go-round in the theater. And there's no light that you expected to find up there. You stay right where you are. And you will see the light over there. It'll be that big. Not that big. But you'll see it'll be very real. But keep your imagination out of it, or you will imagine you see a light. And then you'll have to pursue that imaginary light and see that it wasn't a light at all, but a product of your wishful imagination. And that's another thing we have to go through to get this imagination out of the way. Then, when we're all through, all washed up, fully defeated, the glimpse. I think somebody's like, what is the tunnel? Oh, I don't have enough fingers. The tunnel is my anger that life hasn't given me what I thought I had coming to me. The anger is my fear of death. The tunnel is my fear of death. The tunnel is my feeling bad over someone leaving me. Make your own list. This is what the tunnel consists of. If you run away from it, how are you going to understand it? How are you going to come through on the other side as long as you fight it?
Now, how do I stay in the tunnel then? By not fighting it? I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Going back.
Okay. I get angry over something, all right? That is my tunnel for the moment. Anger, really burned up about something. You understand, of course, that you must want to get out. You can't, no goodness you want out. Okay. So I see my anger, okay? Now I've seen it quite clearly. No doubt about it. I'm burning with rage with something. I don't know what happened, but it really makes me mad. At that minute, this is why you must have this group, or you must study, you must keep going. If at the minute I can first observe my anger, see it, and I can put all these other elements together at once that I had, that I learned. One, anger is destructive. Anger is a false reaction. Anger is on the level of mechanicalness. Anger is vanity. And I see that I will not lose by dying to my anger, but will gain trueness that will tip it just that much. Oh, it's so fast and so faint. See, it's the first little step. I see that I have nothing to lose by giving up my anger, but as the saying goes, everything to gain. What I have to gain is freedom from my anger. But now you tell me if you're willing to give it up or not. How many of you have been angry in the last week? Huh? See? And that is just the small part you saw. So I will ask you a question. Why do you treasure your anger? Why? We're off. Another 5-minute break. So it is quite needful and legitimate to learn everything we can about the tunnel, what we have to do with it. This kind of familiarity, being factual and not fanciful, is something we have to add to every day, get to know more about it. And as we do, our fears get less and less once we're inside the tunnel. You understand, when you get in there, your fears get at a maximum. At least they become conscious to you. We didn't know how bad off we were. We didn't know how we lied so much and so often. We didn't know that we lied so much and so often. We blabbed endlessly into anybody's ear, wearing them down and out, because the only thing on God's earth we cared about is our big blabby. And then we went to church and talked about God and love and brotherhood. If you could take the shock, if you can take it, you'll make it. You have to be treated so gently. Each one of you have to be treated so gently. I see you sitting around the dining room table, and I know just what word would suddenly jerk you up out of your daydream. You're sitting there blabbing, wasting your energy, but you can't take it, see, so you can't be given it. We learn to take it by coming here and doing these things. Then you can take a little bit more. Then, you might call it a semi-miracle happens. Instead of avoiding all the crises and shocks you can, you deliberately open yourself to them. You don't create them. That would be neurotic. You open yourself to them so that you're shocked as fully as you can take at the moment. Can you imagine the shock you could give to people, which you don't, of course, because you don't give this to people who don't want it. Someone who thinks he's a brilliant lecturer or speaker, and you tell him, "Sir, you are blabbing utter nonsense." Well, maybe we can be told in a very, very small way at the start that everything we say is nonsense, delusion, said to make an impression on someone else or to convince ourselves that we know what we don't really know. When you give up the fight, there's nothing to fight. Now, what is simpler than that? We'll change the illustration a little bit. When you give up the fight, what is there to fight? Have you ever tried to fight a habit? Huh? What happened? You know what happened. But you're going to have a lot of courage to give up fighting that habit. Because you will feel as if you're being carried away, swept away by dark unknown forces, and you think, well, I'm losing control of myself. Go ahead and lose what you call control of yourself and see what happens. So that there's no person here trying to control the habit over there, which is division and torment, but where there's no division at all. But I'm always so concerned, you're always so concerned as to what the other person is going to think about all these things that I'm doing for myself, because I'll tell you, indeed, it is going to change your exterior life in many ways. Can you be 100% concerned with finding yourself and forget all else without thinking that you're doing something selfish? That is what you have to do. I suppose it's selfish for a man in the hospital to get well. That's selfish, is it? Man in the hospital gets well. He says, well, the other people are sick, I guess it's, if I have any conscience, I'll stay sick with them. That's stupid, isn't it? Get well. Never mind what they want to do with their life. They want to stay sick. They want to stay violent. They want to stay petty and treacherous. How about that word treachery? Have you ever been betrayed? If you were on the level of betrayal yourself. When you no longer betray, you're no longer betrayed. No longer has any meaning to you. The word vanishes. How can nobody be betrayed? Right? Boy. See, we have this mass of steel, which we call ourselves hardened by society and by our own activities and our own acquisitions. Hardened. Boy, I'll tell you, you're not going to get through to me and chip that thing away without a lot of fight from me. So you see what work we have? Don't fight anyone who tries to chip away your misery. Why do you fight people who are trying to take away your misery? The forest ranger is trying to help the wounded bear. The bear fights, thinking the forest ranger is trying to hurt him. So he fights the ranger, and he never gets healed. The bear stopped fighting, he would get healed. A lot depends on how tired you are of fighting. If you're very tired, I congratulate you. If you still have fight in you, I feel sorry for you. You just have to suffer a lot longer until you see what's going on, understand it. That the doctor has medicine only and not poison. The charlatan has poison, which he calls medicine. That's what we've been taking up till now. And isn't it strange? The charlatan with the poison, which he calls medicine, you can look at his face and tell that he's sick. He's drinking this poison, which he calls medicine, every day, and it's making him sicker and sicker, and he never looks at himself and says, what on earth is going on? Here I am preaching health, but getting sick. This is a story of our life, our biography, isn't it? When will we see the difference between medicine and poison and stop confusing one with the other? Excitement, false excitement is poison. Look at it this way. Okay, you all know how old you are, do you not? Okay. Consider this for a minute. Up to your present age, isn't it a remarkable thing that you have never found anyone who knows more than you do? Isn't that remarkable how clever, intelligent you are, that you have never found anyone who is smarter than you are? Isn't that astonishing? Need I say more? Okay? What on earth have you been teaching yourself? You're so smart. What have you been teaching yourself? We've been teaching ourselves how to get sicker and sicker and sicker. Up till now. We agreed, didn't we? We're putting an end to it. I think we agreed on that. All this brilliance of ours, what has it given us? All these college degrees and reading of books and talking, being a loudmouth at every party and every occasion we can, giving other people advice. What on earth has it got me? I go home and I cry and wonder what on earth there is besides this madhouse of self-deception. Here you find out what there is otherwise, which I could have phrased better. You find the alternative to continuing to be in this dreary heaviness that we've lived in up till our present age. Are you afraid of the madness of your own mind? Isn't that nice to hear? You don't have to be afraid of the madness of your own mind. You can understand it and end it. Don't be afraid of anything. Say, instead of reacting with tension and fear as I usually do, I'm going to become very scientific about it. I'm going to study it, just as I'd study gardening, astronomy. I'm going to study this thing instead of being afraid of it. And it will work. Then the madness of the world can't affect you because you're not on the level of the world's madness anymore. Can't be careless. You can't continue on your own terms. What have they got you? Just answer the question. What have your own terms got you? You can't be careless and say, I'm going to continue the way I've continued to live. You can't say, I'm going to continue to think and to feel and act the way I have in the past. Because you'll just get the same results, will you not? Of course. You can't come here with your own will intact. You can come here with 99% of it intact and 1% shattered. The shattered part will listen. The other 99% will not listen. It will make critical comments on the way home in the car because it is afraid of its own destruction. That is a clue. Our great hope is the 1% part of us that is shattered, that has no fight left. Not a faked humility, but a real humility. Not a phoniness, but a part that says, I want out. As far as I'm going, I want out. I thought being outside of that tunnel was my heaven, and it was a hell. I'm going to see if there really is a heaven. But I have to go through this dark tunnel. I'm going to do it. Goodbye. I'm going all alone. Come with me if you want. We each have to travel individually. We sort of go as a group, you might say, but it's my groping. You can't grope for me. You can't knock your head against the wall for me. I have to do that. But I'm going in there. And I'm going to stop telling so many lies, including the lies I tell with my facial expressions. That alone would be a start, wouldn't it? Doesn't mean I go around scowling or anything else. It means that my face is getting honest. I may laugh, I may smile, I may do a lot of things, but I'm not going to lie with my face anymore. And that will help spread to the mind, to the feelings, to attitudes, to motives. Start anywhere. What's a good illustration? Start anywhere and it hits every other part. I can't think of illustration. Okay, I stamp on the floor here. It echoes over there somewhere. Start anywhere. Each of you can start in any way you like. You've heard dozens of things. Take any one of them and start, and it will be a healthy radiation toward the other parts. Happen, you know. You can let all this happen to you. You insult me, I let it happen to me without fighting it. I let it happen. Where's the vibration? No vibration. You insult me, the vibration begins when it hits me. And then I bounce it back to you, you bounce it back to me. This is the level of vibration. I let it happen the next time. You insult me, it doesn't fall on my vanity, on my ego, on my ideas of myself. Where's the vibration? The thing is ended. In fact, it never started. Stand there. You stand there and shake and tremble and scream and holler and cry and pray, but stay there. Right in the middle of the tunnel. Do anything. It doesn't make much. You can't control it anyway. You can't control anything. But stay there. Did I hear something? Yes. Would you speak real loud, please, so I can hear you?
Insulted and you stay there. You know, you don't run away from it or anything, and it doesn't hit you, but you still get a little confused. Now that's happened.
Okay.
I wasn't hurt, but I was confused.
Well, there are stages. The first time you try it, not much is likely to happen because we still haven't begun to melt. The hardness is still there. Not much happens. But you're trying. You're trying. Then maybe it go down to another stage where you see it a little bit, but the confusion is there, is what you said. It all depends. You have to stay there until you've done it not 10 times or 50 times, but 1,000 times, until you disappear. When you disappear, there's no confusion at all. Why do you ask a question about it? If you're not there, how can a non-existent you ask a question, how do I deal with this insult? There's no one you to deal with the insult. You've disappeared. You've gone. Physically you're here. Psychologically you're not here at all. So there's stages. Take one stage at a time. One step at a time, that's it. When you are gone, your problems are gone. I and my problems are one. We got a couple of minutes on the tape? Huh? You have to be dealt with very carefully and gently. Unfortunately, because if you're given too much, then you say that is not medicine at all, that's poison. Give you just a little medicine at a time until a small part of you knows medicine when it tastes it. Then you can take, instead of a spoonful, you can take a half a glass, then a bottle. And pretty soon, when you're well, you don't ask, how can I get medicine? Do you? Does a well man ask, how do I get one? The how is gone. We're right back where we started. Don't deceive yourself about your level of psychological maturity, mental maturity. We mustn't deceive ourselves. That will prevent us from finding it, will it not? Maybe the only reason you don't scream is because you've never been challenged. Maybe you've got it made. How's your home life? Pretty nice? Income okay? No particular problems. You've got it made, huh? Huh. You just wait. It's quite possible when you're in what you call having it made in the outer world, by intense hard work, to see how you could react if the situation came up. If you're leaning on your wife or your husband and your marriage is going to continue, great, no problem. You think you have it made. But if you're real smart, you would ask yourself, how would I feel if I did lose my wife or husband, or my money, or reputation? That is work. Not wait until you have the crisis and then come to a group like this and ask, how can I get over my problem? You won't get anything anyway because you just want relief instead of understanding. Find out where you have it made and psychologically end that security. Give it up. Then, if the crisis occurs, the outside happening were to occur, then there would be no crisis. And even if it doesn't, you will still be a lot healthier person than you were before.
When do you believe then that we come out of the tunnel? Do we ever come out of it?
Is that a question you want to know what's in?
I'm asking, do we ever come
If I tell you that you can come out on the other side of the tunnel, what would that mean to you personally?
out?
Would you believe me? That it can be done? Would you disbelieve it?
I would believe that I would always have to face a challenge.
How do you know?
Yes, I would cease to react, I suppose.
What is your question?
Do we continue? How long do we continue?
We've heard the question before. Why do you ask the question? I'm not trying to make you uncomfortable or embarrass you or anything. Why do you ask the question? Could you begin to understand why you ask the question? No, we're not trying to embarrass you. We always have to come back to why don't you find out for yourself? If I have been to Mount Fujiyama, and I can tell you about Mount Fujiyama, you have my description of it, but do you know it personally? Not at all. It's legitimate to ask me what it's like, and I can tell you it has snow and it has a peak, whatever Fujiyama has. Now you go and find out for yourself. You're not given comfort. You're not given a sense of security. As a matter of fact, you're given the exact opposite so that you can be your own security instead of having it from the words of another person or from association with a group. You were told, on the contrary, to get rid of your so-called security, so that when the word ends, the state will begin. As long as the word is there, and you live with the word instead of with the experience, you will have the word but not the experience. How much can you take? Go ahead and run away if you want. It's up to you. It's your life. Take off. Goodbye. But if you want out, that's another matter. Your precious, darling feelings. Good Lord. I will not put up with your precious, darling feelings. Get it now. Now we can make progress. Get it straight. Aren't you glad? Doesn't that delight you?
we have one big house, but being divisive, we see it in all these little houses. Is that right? In anger, irritation, resentment.
It breaks
And
down. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's good.
And we
One
deal
big house.
with the little house, and the little house breaks up the other areas.
Say that again.
Well, I see anger, let's
Okay.
say, so I go about trying to work on my anger. And this working on this anger, also helps my other negativities, my irritation.
Oh, sure, sure. Oh, yeah. That's the beauty of it, that we can work on. Is that what you meant?
Yes.
Many things at once. Yeah, we said it radiates. A little bit of help radiates to all the other parts that need help.
Mr. Howard,
Yes.
when you were speaking of feelings, you know, our precious feelings, aren't feelings a thought-made thing?
Say that again, please.
Are not feelings a thought-made thing?
Yeah, well, they're mixed. Yeah, they go together. Thoughts and feelings go together, sure. You have the thought about it. You have the thought about how you should be treated by someone. There will be an equal feeling, will there not? Which will be violence. You want to be treated by someone a certain way, you are violent. Oh. Just a minute. If you're not going to get tough with yourself, I will tell you, you will never make it. If you will get tough with yourself, you will make it. Ruthless is the word, I think. To yourself, not to someone else. That's easy. Tell me.
I was going to ask, is not pure feeling separate from thought? I mean, the way we use thought, feeling.
Don't confuse things by trying to separate them. See thought, see feeling. Don't go too far, and we get all mixed up.
As I sit and ask questions, I see the foolishness, but if I knew the answer, I would not ask it. About a year ago, aloud or silently, whichever, I asked the question, how can I get over being a nervous wreck? And not directly, but inadvertently, I picked up from you, it's going to take a year. It's not what you said, it's what I heard. If it takes a year, if it takes 5 or 10, but I chose it for a year. Right now a year is by. How do I get over nervousness and anxiety? Now that year is up. Please tell me how not to be anxious for another year. I now see the foolishness of asking another person to tell me what length of time is it going to take for me to give up nervousness.
Yeah, that's very common. You want to be assured. I once said that very subconsciously people are saying to themselves, I hope I can find myself before I die. I hope I have enough time to get it before I take off. See, you smile. This is indeed in back of it. People have a great deal of anxiety. I don't want to die and go to hell, or whatever your particular conditioning is toward it. You don't apparently listen to what you're told here, or you would understand that thought and time are the same thing. That is, they live on the same area. Therefore, if you drop thought, there would be no such thing as saying, how in time can I achieve this or that? Okay, I'll work real hard, I'll come to every meeting, I'll read every book, and in a year, I'll be real spiritual, I'll be real great. That is delusion. I've told you many times that if you can learn to drop thought right now, while you're in here right now, you would be free right now. Then where's the question, how can I be free? How is in time? Right? When the man said, if I read books, okay, in a year I'll be better, or whatever. That is time. Why don't you drop all thought right now, which you can't do, but you can start to understand. Drop all thought about your own self-rescue and see what happens If you stop thinking, I must be rescued, if you stop thinking that, you'd be rescued. Because there'd be no one there to be rescued, which we discussed this morning. Who is there to be rescued? Nobody, but you still think so. Well, I'll show you. That's you. That is what you are. Die to that. There's no one needing rescue at all. Our task is to see that which is rescue. Isn't that over yet?
Mr. Howard, you're saying that the real pure self is the only thing that is. And all these that you refer to as us dying, these are the false selves that must die. And once they have died, there's nothing to die. There's only the true self. And that's all it really was in the first place.
Okay, fine, great. Good summary.